All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to the Akri community meeting for April. Um, as you may know, we abide by the CNCF Code of Conduct, and this meeting is recorded. So if you don't consent, hop off or hop off camera. Okay, so I could quickly share my screen, maybe. Yeah, don't forget to add your name to the attendees. Um, So I guess yeah, we could just talk about KubeCon and like how it went. Um, so oh, there's Ethan. Hey Ethan, can you hear us? Oh, he's still connecting. Ethan, can you hear us?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Okay,
Can you guys hear me?
awesome. Yeah,
Yeah.
Great. Sorry for the hiccup.
no worries. So yeah, if you can put your name, I've linked the HackMD in the chat so there's an attendee section if you want to just add your name and company. But yeah, Ethan's another PM that we've been working together at Microsoft, and he's helping us out with some open source, how can we grow the community and tracking metrics and things like that. So I think he'll be sharing that with us later today. But yeah, Nicholas, should we talk about KubeCon first? I mean, so we were, one of the first few talks at the Cube on Edge Day, and it went pretty well, I would say. Like we had a bit of a hiccup with the demo just because the Wi-Fi connection was a bit spotty at first, but
Yeah.
it ended up working at the end, and that was great. Um, if you want to elaborate more on that.
No, it was really great to. Well, there was a lot of people in the room after all. Way more than at the booth.
Yeah, yeah. I would
But
say
yeah,
like almost like 100 people or maybe even more or something.
uh, I don't know if we see how full the room is on the recording. I didn't look at it. But yeah, the room was pretty filled up. But as the Edge Day is only a single track, that's, well, uh, I'd say more common to have more people there. And we got good feedback from of this session as well after it. So that's pretty nice as well.
Yeah. And then um yeah, Susa also gave a keynote at Cube on Edge Day as well and kind of talked about the tiny edge and how Akri is gonna help solve all of it. So that was also exciting. I got a good picture of that actually. Kate.
I was just curious where the feedback came from. Was it the feedback they email out, or was it people coming up after? Because I know you also got a lot of great questions at the end of the talk, and I was wondering if that was it
Um,
too.
the feedback I got was more like people talking to me at the booth later on.
Yeah, I think for the official, like, the QR code, leave the feedback, I think we only got like two responses. But, those were both actually 10 out of 10. So there's that. And then other than that, we did have the Augury booth for Thursday. So we were initially on the waiting list, but we were able to get off of it for one day, PM shift. So Nicola and I, he set up the demo there as well. And, people would be able to walk by and scan the QR code and print their own sticker, which was really fun. And I did make use of the Akri Twitter to kind of like promote everything. And then on the last day, Nicola, me, and Reese from Susa, we had like a joint kind of session at the Microsoft booth theater. We first kind of talked about what is Augury and the Tiny Edge as usual. And then we talked about kind of the three different options, ways you can leverage Akri. So first you have obviously the open source one, but then you also have leveraging Akri in SUSE Edge 3.0, which you guys announced that week, right? And then, I talked about leveraging Augury in Azure IoT operations. So I think it was a really cool, collaborative talk. And we did see, a decent attendance. It was like a Friday afternoon, though. So everyone was kind of like gone. But we actually did see like a few people. So that was cool.
Yeah, even on the Akri booth, we were completely on the side. So even though we were in front of the staircase to get to the sessions, we were not on somewhere where people coming to the project booth will easily see us. So yeah, we didn't get much attendance there, but well, I the only thing that kind of disappointed me on this is I expected the eye-catchy demo to have people want to try to print something, and usually they were more like we explained the demo to them, and do you want to try it? And they're like, oh no, no, that's fine.
Yeah, that was surprising to me. I was like, oh, you don't want a sticker with your name on it? But yeah.
I think it's also KubeCon when people are just being inundated with like, take this, try this, do this. And I think they probably were like, default no.
Yeah, especially when lots of booths are like, okay, take this, try this, and leave us your all your data.
Yeah, they probably thought that QR code was going to ask for a social security number or something. So it was definitely, it's a lot at KubeCon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And otherwise, I got some discussion with the DRA maintainers. They are planning, they are doing some changes to DRA, and basically it doesn't go in the right direction for us. So I started getting a bit more involved into it, and they have a document they maintain where they list all the use cases, and I added Akri to the list of use case so that they don't forget about it. And so I hope that we're going to find some common ground here where so that we can leverage uh, GRA for our use case.
Is this like Alexander and the others, Intel folks who are involved in CDI that you were talking to?
I talked to Alexander, and I also talked to Patrick Oli.
Yeah,
So
okay. And in what way does it not move in our direction? Is it less focused on shared devices? Is that the problem? Like the daemon
yeah,
drivers, is that an issue or?
uh, it's more focused on getting it work nicely with the auto scheduler. The autoscaler. And so this has the issue that the autoscaler need to be able to know what will happen when a node gets added and if the pods will become schedulable. And with the current DRA way, you can do that because you don't have any specification of what is a device actually. So basically, they're going back to integrate the device as part of the node, and but with a device that is more that has a list of properties and that you can filter on, so that when you want to grab a device, you can be more specific about the properties of the device rather than I want this specific one.
And they're not making that optional, like they're requiring all devices to be tied to a node.
Yes, because otherwise it adds lots of complexity to the scheduler, and it adds also some latency to it that is not acceptable for the big cloud providers that want their GPU in quickly. So
Yeah,
basically,
that's
they're
fair.
trying to find a way, and the way they managed to get the uh, devices linked to a node is pretty much using they're using a resource specific for that, and that's basically the instance resource we have, except that it only has a single node field, not a list of nodes, and that it can have multiple devices in a single resource. But otherwise, it's basically the same. So I'm trying to get them to, okay, maybe we can have a list of nodes for a device rather than just one node. That would be good for us, I guess.
Yeah, and that doesn't seem like a huge ask. I know I haven't seen the
Yeah.
implementation, but like to be able to have that be a list, especially if we're dealing with an operator model, it shouldn't be too crazy of an ask.
Yeah, the next difficult thing with this will be the capacity, because currently the device have only I'd say one slot, so that's something either one or infinite, so that's not the flexibility we currently have. So that's something they may look into as well, but that's not on their one of their priority yet, but um, they are really into defining the resource that holds the device, so that it can handle most of the use case they have, and as much as possible. So I guess it will be possible to get that to a point where we have multiple nodes that can have a device, but I'm still not sure on how this will end up. But apparently, we are not the only one interested in network devices, because NVIDIA also has some networked GPU things, so that might be of interest to some. So they are working also with trying to get network devices working, but I don't know if they have the same kind of limitations. I'd say that we want to bring in, like limiting the nodes that can access that have access to a network resource, because we have that idea that maybe only a subset of the nodes can access a device, and or the fact that we have this capacity thing, or uh, well, or the fact that we discover them dynamically. So I don't know how this will go, but I will still follow that and keep in touch with them about getting it the right
Yeah,
direction for us.
I also am curious how much a KEP, a Kubernetes enhancement proposal, being accepted, and the reason the how much it is important to stick with the argument of the original KEP. Like, does that need to continue to drive the direction of the project? Because I do know the KEP for DRA lists one of the benefits as network-based devices and lists Akri as an example. So as a project, if KEPs are supposed to drive them for the future, I would expect that that should be something that should be back referenced, because I think that was, and I've co-presented with Alexander about it, and he mentioned network-based devices as a benefit of
Yeah,
it. So I'm a little surprised that they're wanting to pull back on that.
yeah,
So because of that, I
it's
don't think
just
it's a
for
big ask.
yeah, the way they are pulling back is just by pressure of the people maintaining the scheduler that says that it adds too much the current way with the fact that the external driver gets involved into the scheduling process, and so have to give suitable nodes and everything. It adds too much latency to scheduling and adds too much, I'd say, different path, so that for every time you have to schedule a resource, you have to check whether it has external resource and whether you have to wait for other things, or whether then you can't do batch scheduling and everything, and so that adds too much complexity for them to the scheduler. And the other side, there is all this thing with AI accelerators and GPUs that are just users that want to be able to filter more on a specific GPU, or less specific GPU sometimes. So just say, I want a GPU that has at least that amount of memory. So this is where they wanted the array first for these users. So they drove the discussion there, and we weren't there. So that's how we got skipped.
That makes sense. I have one other question. I'm sorry to drag this out. Would there be a way for them to do something? Because I haven't looked at the implementation, I think, as much as you have. Would there be a way for them to essentially create another resource that defines the node that a device is attached to after scheduling? So it would be like a post-schedule workload where once you've scheduled it the first time, you forever know that this GPU is on this device. And then they can short loop the scheduling like decision by first checking that kind of mapping of the already known locations of
Yeah,
devices.
currently they do it by using this resource that has a list of device and that is attached to a node, and they use that to be able to schedule the. So this is a well, this is what they call name resources, and basically it's yeah. When if you look at the KP for it basically is the instance resource we have. You have a list of properties you can filter on, and except that they have ways to tell if you have numeric properties. For example, you can say I want one that has more than or less than. So you have even more flexibility there than just saying I want uh, a device that has this property. Uh, and otherwise you also have the well the idea here is really to that the scheduler doesn't have to ask anyone to be able to schedule uh, a pod. It has all the information. And the discussion I had with Patrick here basically went to a point where he say, okay, maybe we could change the node field to be a node selector, so that you can have either a list of node or a label selector there that can select that list of node from using a label or something. And this way we could solve the network devices. But that's something that they want to see how this would work.
So all that being said, so having presented a really cool talk and have a really good demo at KubeCon that is entirely based um, on this proposal, DRA, but then having heard that DRA may be evolving in a way that is not advantageous to us, and knowing that we still have a lot of work to get merged a lot of what you demoed. Where are we at? Like, are we going to take the momentum of KubeCon and push and merge that work and enable DRA mode on this API version of DRA? Or are we going to pause until we see where the future of DRA is headed?
I guess that the best way here would be to continue on the refactoring and the, well, I'd say all the preliminary parts of integrating DRA, but wait for the real DRA part until the, well, not really wait, but follow what's going on and try to see if what they do fits for us.
And to clarify, the refactoring work would be agent refactor, splitting up the CRDs still,
Yeah.
queue operators, like all of that work that we might want anyways.
Yes. And things like the other feature we want, like arbitrary resource scheduling, so being able to schedule things other than, oh, well, schedule, create other resource than pods or anything. So these are things that can be done without having real DRA, I'd say. But overall, yeah, it will be easier if we have all this refactor in, because it will make it easier to, that's, well, even with the current device plugin way, it's still a bit clearer in the distinction between all the parts. So, but overall, I think that it's going to end up in a way that we use the array, but it's pretty clear that if all the use cases are covered by the new GRA way, the current one will not go out of alpha, and only the new one will continue to beta and then GA.
Awesome.
After the Microsoft booth session also, I think I got a few questions from, I think there were a few people from Huawei that were watching, and they were asking, how is Akri different from Cube Edge? And I've like kind of looked into Cube Edge, but I didn't know exactly how to answer because I haven't looked into it too much. I was wondering if you guys kind of had an idea of like what the differentiating factor was. I know Cube-Edge is more of like a comprehensive like platform for, Kubernetes at the edge, but I do know they also have like a device kind of connecting framework as well.
Yeah, I think that Cube Edge is more like having remote workers for a cluster,
Mm.
and that so I believe that this wouldn't work with devices that are not able to run some kind of Kubernetes workload. But maybe I'm wrong, because I didn't look far into KubeEdge as well.
Yeah, KubeEdge is a huge project with a lot of maintainers. So my original thought was, I think of KubeEdge as like a Kubernetes distribution for clusters on the edge that has a really good support for offline availability. But I was gonna say I don't know much about like how they're linking to IoT devices that are too small to have a kubelet themselves, but they move very fast. So maybe they have support for something like that. So here I am on their documentation, um, looking to see what they have. They have an MQTT broker. I think MQTT is their um, and they use Mosquito. So I think basically from very quickly looking at their diagram, they might just only show MQTT here, but they have, it looks like a very easy way to have device twins inside your cluster for devices that register with the cluster via the MQTT broker. So essentially, if you can um, publish events to this broker from your device, then those events can be displayed and used from my quick look. I'll share the link to the diagram there. But I
Nice.
don't know what that means for if it's hard if you have a variety of devices to like what range of devices they support.
Right. So from what I've seen, they have these like mappers, and it looks like on their documentation that I'm seeing right now, there's Bluetooth and Modbus, but I think I've been to one of their talks before, and I know they've talked about supporting like OPCUA and things like that as well. So it'd be interesting for us to kind of see that as well, see where they're going with that.
So it sounds like they do some really awesome stuff in bridging IoT devices to Cube Edge clusters. And I
Hmm.
think it sounds like the answer is if you're not using Cube Edge, you need something else, and we might be
Yeah,
filling that gap.
yeah.
Ideally, the stories would look similar, but theirs seems like very specific to a Cube Edge cluster, but maybe you can just use their um, mappers and event buses and device twins and pull that into a cluster of your own.
Hmm.
Yeah, Shibet is really a huge thing, and it seems to have way more uh, elements than I thought it had. And I see they have this mapper thing, but I
Yeah.
don't know if they have the discovery side of it.
Mm.
Like, it's something to be able to uh, bridge a device to your centralized system, and something else to be able to know it's there.
Yeah, it does say like for Bluetooth mapper, for example, there's a watcher component which scans for Bluetooth devices and connects once it's online or in range.
And going back to the array quickly, um, as at some point I mentioned that we were using Rust for Akri and the array driver. They asked if we would be, uh, well, if we would like to kind of uh, have the array part of our implementation in kind of a library or something that they could link to people that want to use Rest for doing drivers.
As in like put the DRA part in a project of its own, or are they just asking to
Oh.
reference it?
Just asking to reference it and maybe have something that can be, well, as our project is bigger than just a plugin, something that is more like smaller that they can reference rather than just look at Acri. They do a GRA plugin somewhere in their whole thing.
That sounds great to me.
like how they point to the NVIDIA driver in the documentation. But I think that would probably need have us to kind of release, more, have a bit more separation of what part is the actual driver in it.
To make sure we have enough time, should we move to the next agenda item?
Yeah, sure, sounds good. So, Ethan's been doing some work around, looking at kind of the metrics, with our releases and the repo, and also he had some good ideas about how we might be able to kind of improve our visibility and things like that. So, Ethan, do you want to kind of talk about those things? And feel
Sure.
free to share your screen too, if you
Yeah.
want.
Let me start with share my screen. Can you guys see anything?
It just says you've started sharing your screen for me. Oh, there we go. The
Okay,
suspense.
great. Yeah, so I think so far my responsibility here is support Eugene and also trying to spend some effort on enhance or improve the ecosystem engagement of this project. Um, so this kind of report is something I also doing for another open source project that I'm managing. So basically, I would for another project, I will generate this kind of report every month, and then we can, like, if we have a history of this, we can also see the trend um, of the activities. So these number are actually the real number I pulled from our repository, the Akri repository. Um, so I think we can have like the repository visit, unique clone of the project, and I think the visit of the issue board also is a good indicator. That means that if there are people looking for known issues or they are trying to file issues on them by themselves. Um, and one thing I think I can try to do is also pull out the visit number of our Acri homepage, the home site of Acri. But I don't know how to do that at this point. I'm just wondering, did one of you guys help with set up this homepage, or how can I get more information of this Acri home site?
I don't think we have Google Analytics set up, do we? In part because I think the CNCF, we needed to have a Google account to link it to, but we might. Edric would know that. Um, and I don't, so it's hosted on GitBooks right now. We have an issue to move it to Netlify, right? I believe. And that might come with a larger suite of analytics tools. But right now, I'm not sure we have that number at all. So um, it may be more than just getting access. It may be that we don't have that. Eugene, I know you looked a little into like porting to Netlify. Is that how big of a task would that be? Do you have a sense of that?
Um, I haven't looked too much into it, but I do think we would like need some cycles on it. I don't think it would be super easy, but let me circle back on that. And then I'll also ask Edric if he has any idea about the Google Analytics, if we have any of that.
Okay, got it. Then I guess we probably don't need this one for now. Sounds like it may be something we can try to activate when we move to the a different framework for hosting the home site. And then I think it's also a good idea to monitor the views on the latest video, the demo video or presentations. And then last thing is that I also look at the download of our packages. So I think this would also reflect that how much the user is actually download and use the Akri. I think the numbers here is from the Akri controller. Just wondering if that is the right one that I should look at, because I know they are like Akri agents or other packages, but seems like the controller is the right one for measuring the downloads.
I
Is there
think
any?
the agent, we should probably look at the agent numbers. Kate, do you have?
Um,
Nicholas, I think you're about to say something. Go ahead.
yeah, the agent would be, well, is always present, whereas the controller, I've seen some people disabling it because they don't need the scheduling ability. But the agent has, well, it will be present on every node, so it will probably be downloaded by every node. So that might lead to more than one download per user.
I think the answer would be both, as annoying as that is, but I would look at both the agent and controller. I think they tell us different things, different stories. Um, and in part because if we see like, oh, with changes to DRA, less people are interested in the controller, that would be great to track. And see like, oh, the controller is becoming something that's not useful to people. I also had a question with downloads. We have a lot of GitHub workflows that kick off with every PR. Is there a way to distinguish whether these are used by our workload runners versus devs out there?
Um, from the GitHub UI, I don't see a way for that. But um, is that pipeline only triggered when the latest package is released and then you move to the newer one? If that's the case, maybe we can skip the like the first week after the release.
No, it's pretty constant.
Mm.
But actually, or maybe not, because in the workflows, aren't we building them and then just using the pre-built artifacts, Nicola? I think.
I think we are, but that might change when we split um, the discovery handlers, because they will then pull the latest version of the core components. Well, the latest release version of the core components. But I don't know if GitHub is counting in their stats what's coming from the GitHub, uh, well, agents. I don't know how to call them. I don't know if they count what's get pulled by the GitHub Actions into the statistics of the downloads.
I would assume so. I mean, I don't know what they're like. Some people might like they would have to somehow keep an inventory of like all of their runners and make sure that they aren't, incrementing a count based on a certain set. But I don't know. I would doubt it. But like the other project I work on, Spin, we just were kind of wary that our numbers are a little jumbled because of that. So I guess maybe this is just a point of reference of putting an asterisk by all these numbers and understanding that we are a lot of these polls as well, and trying to be consistent about our GitHub workflows, because if all of a sudden, like knowing, oh, 1 week we had like 10 features we were working on, and so PRs were churning a lot, and that was causing a lot of pulls. So just like keeping that in mind. Yeah.
Okay. Um, and then I think the next part, um, for another project, I also do a statistic for the contributions. I'm not sure if that is also what we want for the Acre project, because for another project I'm running, I need some additional uh, way to encourage contributions. So I would record the commits, line of change, and the PR reviews for our maintainer and contributors. So if that would help for the Acre project, I would also happy to do that. But I think kind of want to hear the feedbacks from you guys for this
I
one.
believe we already have this kind of statistics somewhere because all CNCF projects are tracked using a tool named I don't remember the name of the tool, but I know there's something on CNCF wide for tracking the projects and the activity on the projects. So that's something we may already have.
Oh, okay.
Just trying to find back the name of the tool.
I think it should be linked from the CNCF landscape, if I remember.
Yeah, I think so. I'm going on it. And
Yeah, so if you look at the landscape, it already has a summary of that.
dev stats
Dev stats, nice. Okay.
brings you to a graph and a dashboard with a set of activity on the GitHub.
Are you able to find our specific?
Yeah, I got it. I'll put it in the chat when I find
Oh, I think I found it. We're on a
the
race.
tab
Yep.
again. Yep.
Oh my gosh, we're org ID 1 because of our name. That's pretty awesome.
I don't know if that's because of our name or because every project has
Oh.
this specific subdomain. So
Mm.
they might be. If we take another random one, is it also org ID 1? Yeah, it's it's a different instance per sub thing, per subdomain.
Mm. But this is more than just the maintainer track. So one thing we could do, Ethan, is kind of create a Grafana dashboard based on what you normally capture. because the dev stats has things like PR comments, um, issues opened, GitHub events. It has all of that. Um, and you can create a dashboard for a project for that.
Okay. Yeah, I'll play with it a little bit more. Yeah, so I think I'll just keep generate this kind of report each month. Um, One last thing I want to check is that if like I think I would like to propose some minor updates to the Akri home site. For now, it's just like update some of the demo links so people can access the latest online video for that. I'm just wondering if that is something I can do or can get access for doing that.
So it's all of our docs are open source within Akri Docs. So if you just want to
Mhm.
put up a PR, people will be paying to review it. Um, here's the if you haven't already seen it, you probably have, but that's the repo that links to our site. So
Hmm.
just updating the docs there will update the um, Gitbook.
Ah, okay. That's awesome. All right. Then I'll start to work a little bit on that. Um,
And then
so
was
meanwhile,
there anything else about the issues and triaging the issues that you wanted to talk about, or no?
ah, yeah, I think just one thing. Um, so I think I look at the issues in the repo a little bit, and I believe lots of them are created by ourselves. I mean, the all the maintainers of this project. And if I want to find a way to extract uh, all the issues that filed by uh, the ecosystem, like people outside of the contributors. Is it okay that I create a tag, a label, things like ecosystem bug or ecosystem report for tagging those kind of issues? So we can kind of have a way to monitor those items separately.
Is that something you've seen in other projects?
Um, So I think I only see a few projects. So in a different in other projects, like most of the issue are created by the users, not the maintainers. So um, like usually we don't need to create a label like that. But for Agri project, like the portion is a little bit different.
I think I would be interested in if that kind of creates like a dichotomy of people within like Akri, because at what point does someone become a maintainer is kind of whether or not they get this flag on the issue. Like say, like before Nikolai became a maintainer, he was putting up issues. So then it's kind of this very clear you're not a maintainer because I'm putting this ecosystem flag on your issues. Um, so I would want to like see what other projects do something similar before we go ahead and do that because it might kind of create this. I don't know. I'm curious about it. Also, the other projects I work on, I would say a lot of the issues are maintainers. So the one that I spin and spin cube are two of the projects that I work on, and I would say the majority of the issues sometimes are maintainers because it's a good way of tracking the things that we need to do and providing like a reference for users of like, oh, this is in progress, or oh, this is an issue I had too. So like if I'm working on something and I find a bug in my own code, I'll put up an issue for it. And that's like a really helpful way of kind of keeping track of things in the open. So I would just be curious how we would go about, I would think if we're going to put the label on, it would need to be a maintainer labels their own issue rather than us labeling everyone else's issue, because that it's more of an easy thing to maintain if I'm in the know and know to put a label on my issue. Um, Another way this is implicitly done potentially is by scoping issues. So like a maintainer be more informed in a way that they can scope their issue. So if I put up an issue and I label it agent or I label it controller, that kind of cues in that I knew what area of Akri it related to. Maybe that's another way of thinking about it.
Maybe some other way could be that issues created by maintainers are triaged when they get created by the maintainer, and that uh, uh, any issue that goes through triage should be counted.
Maybe we should take a step back and get a better sense of, Ethan, what do you see as the benefit of kind of making it easier to see issues created by ecosystem members?
I think it's I'm not thinking that we should triage the issue differently. I think I was just trying to find a way that we can have an easier way to measure how we respond to the request from the ecosystem or broader users. I guess that's really the only reason. So like we can I can definitely find some way else to uh, kind of do the same thing. So it's not really necessary to. It's not the only way to 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 create this kind of new label for it. Yeah, and I think like maybe I read it incorrect, but I think many issues like created by the maintainer uh, is more like whenever you guys find the issues or think of a new improvements, then we create a issue to document that, so it won't be forgot, and it's not necessary that it has to be fixed real soon or uh, right away. Um, so yeah, it's so yeah. I think I can just uh,
Well,
spend some more time on those issues. Go ahead,
I
please.
believe we already have the bug label that basically labels everything that is a bug and should be fixed, in contrast to uh, feature request or improvement requests. So I already see those two categories that need to be handled differently when we want both triage and do some statistics, I believe, because we may want a different well uh, maybe the response time for a bug is more important than for a feature request, for example. But yeah.
Yeah, I think I agree with that being a comfortable system for me is bug versus enhancement. And our GitHub issues, when you go to create one, even creates that distinction for you. And that kind of is like, does something need to be fixed? Do we need to patch something? Or is something like, oh, I love Akri, it would be even better with. And I think those are pretty widespread norms. I I do see how we probably have an issue with responding to issues in general, though. Like we like that is another topic potentially that we're getting to is like we don't handle issues at a correct rate, period. And part of that has to do with the fact that we don't have enough active maintainers. And so even if we found the perfect labeling system, that wouldn't speed up the rate of response to issues, in my opinion, because we just don't have enough people responding to issues. So I think a way to improve our issue queue would be getting more people on the other side of it.
Well, be it maintainers or just contributors, because
Yeah.
if we, well, in a way, with more contributor, we would have more, I'd say, issue reviewing and code review to do rather than doing the work ourselves, I'd say. So in a way, that's another, well, that puts other issues, of course, but that's something that, well, yeah, we don't have much. Well, pretty much every contributor is a maintainer right now. So
I sadly have to hop off. But Ethan, it was great to meet you. And thanks for presenting, Eugen, Nicola, at the conference.
Yeah.
All right, talk
Yep,
to you later.
great to meet everyone.
Thanks, everyone.
Oh, y'all can stay on. Sorry, I just need to hop off.
I also need to hop off, actually, so
Okay,
thanks, everyone. All right.
Thanks.
all right. See you next
Bye.
time.
bye.
Bye.